All right, Lindsay, thanks for being with me. So tell me, what is your name? Where are you at? And how long have you been in the business?
So, Lindsay Sport, I am in Birmingham, Alabama, sub city like Homewood primarily, and I've been in the business about 5.5, almost 6 years.
Okay, and what is your role in the industry?
I am still an agent, buying and selling, mainly just listings, and then I am the team lead CEO for Keller Williams Homewood.
Okay, so in your personal business, how many units do you do? How much volume do you do? What does that business look like? And then how many agents in your brokerage?
hmm So, I do about mid 20 volume last year. I think it was like 25, something like that. Already kind of on track to beat that this year. And like I said, this year it's been mainly listings. I've only had two buyers, and the rest of the transactions have been listings from previous sales. And then for the brokerage, we are up to roughly 80 agents. It was 66 when I took over. And then, of course, we lost some few as fees go around. So we're just continually to grow. We're getting two to three a month and steadily increasing there. We're finally out of the hole and we're in the net positive now. So that is great. So I've only been in this position 6 months or so as well.
Okay, perfect. So let's dive in. What would you say were some of the bigger challenges that you faced before beginning with Glover U one-on-one coaching?
Yeah, I think even before coaching with you in general, I didn't really understand it to be a business in a sense. Like, I'm just running around buying and selling houses, doing all these things. I think once I really even met you after a seminar, like really changing that mindset to business mode, like, how do I make this a business? Because I had previously come from a team. And so I'm basically building their brand, chasing their leads, running after Zillow, all of these things, but doing nothing to build a pipeline or nothing that. So I think just switching gears is the big thing of like, okay, how do I put this in a system? How do I continue to do this? How do I automate that? And just running things more like a business. And then how to even get outside that, like we talked a lot about wealth building and investments and things like that. And that was just a very big eye opener for me.
Yeah, and that's it's a very common problem. Our industry does an okay job, I would say, of teaching us how to be salespeople and yet not business owners. And so I know for you particularly, it was that shift in, while I do still need to do sales, and that is my primary job, I need to run this like a business, and that creates just other responsibilities, other priorities, other avenues that I need to focus on other than just the sale.
Absolutely.
I love it. Good deal. So now let's talk about how has one-on-one coaching or, Glover U in general helped you really reach your goals or stay on track to reach your goals?
Yeah, I mean, I just love coaching in general. It's honestly just one of the bright spots of my week because I come from an athletic background.
Yeah.
So I've always had someone in my life, whether a coach or a mentor, to direct. Like, I'm extremely self motivated and a self starter, but I'm very task oriented too. So if you tell me what to do, I'm going to check it off and get it done. So I think in that aspect, it just holds me really accountable and it challenges me in a lot of areas that if I say I can do this, going to do that, it just to be able to see the results, say, hey, we did that this week. This is what we're looking to do. It just kind of gives me a sense of clarity as well. And just having someone that from the outside looking in that is removed emotionally to help me grow in various avenues, that's really why I love it. And I'm a huge proponent of it for anyone at any level.
I love it. And so let's talk about that a little bit. So, for someone that maybe doesn't understand coaching or who has never been coached before, like what do those coaching calls look like? What do you talk about? How do you feel when you leave them?
Mhm. I think for me, that's it. Literally is what it sounds. It's like a coaching call, but like I know how to be coached and trained. And I think I even had one of my agents ask me the other day. She's like, "I'm really confused. Like, why are you with a coach and you have plenty of all this and you're teaching us and training us?" I'm like, it's just a different level. I need someone to help me maintain systems, how to find that counterbalance, do other things. So for me, the coaching session, to explain that to someone is exactly that, like keeping me on task and giving me insight, or maybe pointing out things I'm not even seeing in blind spots. And I think it's like, okay, and maybe even noticing patterns in me that I don't see, whether that's positive or negative, just to be able to just have that outside perspective is huge. Like I said, like even elite athletes and elite salespeople have coaches. There's
Yeah.
someone monitoring something that they're doing, because I just think it's so easy to slack without it, and that's just for me. Like that's just exactly like coaching through life and what they look like. We'll hit on the things we need to hit on, and then talk about things that are maybe affecting those. And sometimes just speaking about the things makes me realize things. So it's just like, and I also love that it's just like jam packed. Like the amount of value I get in 30 minutes versus, going to conferences for 3 days and I may not even get that much value, and I'm a hard one. I've told you this before. Like I have very high expectations and I'm very hard to please. And, I get a lot out of it, and I can't say enough positive things about it.
Yeah, you said a couple of really interesting things that I think some people don't realize can happen in a coaching session. And number one, just like you said, I love that you relate everything back to either sports or the gym, because I'm the same way. But like the best athletes, like week after week, they are watching game tape. So here's what happened throughout the week. And then we turn back around and watch it to see how we can get better. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's a lot of our coaching sessions together. You go and run the play, and then there's a lot of times where like I'm just your sounding board, or I'm like, okay, so the play we ran was X. What did we find in that? And we kind of uncover some of the things. Like you said, you were boots on the ground running the play that you may not have been able to see.
Mhm.
And you have to be willing to
Yes,
want to see those things though. So I think that's really cool.
absolutely.
All right. So, what are your top sources of business, and what would you say is your top performing strategy or tactic in your and in either role, really?
hmm for the sales business side, I mean, I would say, God, probably 80% comes from repeat or referral, which is a huge chunk. But I will say some of those I got early on, was just from the gym.
Yeah.
Honestly, from just my social environments or from networking. So I would say, so as far as that, like most of it's fear, like and repeat and referrals from other agents, but those initial came from gym, from networking events, from being engaged with things that I naturally enjoy. Like I really don't have that many cold call clients or cold leads in my pipeline. I do. They're starting to filter in now from like listings and things like that. But all I would say, and then when we built out really my event strategy, that was a huge one, because the party I had, not this past one, the one before that, I had my A's invite guest, and I closed 3 of those transactions last year. So I spent like $200 and I made over 40 grand.
Yeah.
So it was a good return. But like you helped me lay out those strategies, the tier, everything like that. So mine mainly comes from like social media and like social events and network, and then just the repeat from the gym, really.
Yeah, you're a really good example too of switching industries yet capitalizing on the network that you had
Mhm.
prior to. And I remember when you first started with me, and you're like, I've got all these people from the gym, and I just have to figure out like how to talk to them and how do I transition and tell them I'm in real estate. And it's stuff that we teach constantly, and yet you went and implemented it. And I remember it was a little bit uncomfortable for you at first, because you're like, these are people that I still do see at the gym, and like I don't want to be that burden. Yet you worked your database, you did the events, you stayed in touch with them. We put together a touch plan together. And you're right. I remember when we were going through that, the cleaning up of your database. First, who's
Mhm.
in it? How important are they to me? How much do they engage with me? Yeah, I remember all that. So,
Yeah.
gosh,
And
yeah,
then the brokerage side and the team, it's the
yes,
same thing. It's literally almost the exact same model. It's just I've had to figure out how to translate that a little differently, because it is my initial, guest in here, my initial appointments. They were all with relationships that I had, co-op agents, people that I see at these networking events, and then came from referrals from my agents or people, close. And then also just from us the masterminds and the seminars and all the value add classes we do. It's the same thing, like having something. So again, an event, like something to invite them to.
Yes, yes. It is the exact same playbook, which I love, and you've been able to scale that as well. Good deal. So what would you say are you on pace for this year? So original goal was, remind me.
Like anywhere we were in kind of that 8 to 10 million range that I felt
Correct.
like I could balance that with the lead side.
Correct. And then what are you on pace for right now?
Right at it. I just closed the 10th one today, and we're at about like three-ish, but those were all lower in, and all the ones I have under contract or listing are all 500,000 and above. So when these close out, we'll be right at that 5 mil mark.
I love it. And so, how long would you say that it took to really start realizing a return on your coaching investment?
Honestly, for me, it was pretty immediate. Like, I don't know if like the numbers show that. I think maybe when did we start Jill? I'm trying to think the first, like, I'd say after like 4 or 5 months could probably see it with numbers.
Hmm.
But as far as insight and value, it was immediate for me. Like, just like I said, thinking about things I didn't think about or being challenged in ways I wasn't challenged. And I think really after we started going, the two ways I saw it mostly is when, you set me up with that expired group, and I got a couple of expired listings. So that was pretty much 3 or 4 months in.
Yeah.
And then the big event that I held, the big Christmas cocktail, and got those. So within that 4 to 5 month range, we're talking about, 4 transactions from ideas and strategies that we talked about.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So, I mean, it may seem rhetorical, and I'm going to ask you anyway. Why do you continue with one-on-one coaching? So,
Just
and let me ask the question this way.
okay.
Why do you continue with one-on-one coaching? And I ask that question because I feel like a lot of people might think, well, I hired a coach to reach a goal or to essentially get to a certain level, and now I'm there. Why do you continue on?
Yeah. Well, I think just for who I am as a person and individual, like I'm very I am goal oriented, and I like to set them and I like to meet them. But when I meet them, then what? Right? It's a new goal. It's a new level. It's how, and that's me. Like it's just, and I know it's probably sometimes a bad habit if I'm never happy, even with the goal that I reached. But I just know there's always more. There's
Yeah.
always more. There's always a next level I can take it up. There's always a system I can add. There's always an extra person I can call. There is always more, and I don't feel I've hit a cap. I have done well in the avenues, but I do not feel that I've hit any type of cap to where like, okay, I'm good. Like I always just want and need a little bit more and crawl over that ceiling every time and just continue to build it. Because I mean, for me, like there's no reason that I shouldn't have the top producing market center and a great sales business and a team on the side and investments. Like as long as I can do it, I'm going to do it. And so, like, having, again, someone guide, talk through that, work through that, give me outside the box strategies, like I said, that is not emotionally attached,
Yeah.
that can be, just huge for me. Like, there's really no end in sight for me.
Well, I love it. That was all such insightful information. I appreciate you taking the time, and
Absolutely.
we'll see you.
Appreciate you.